Hello dear chess friends, welcome to our new video. Here we will analyze some game real master Akiba Rubinstein played against Sándor Takács. Tournament was played in Budapest 1926, and let's see what happened in that Queen's Gambit opening, Queen's Gambit game. C4, knight f6, d4, e6, knight c3, d5, and after bishop b5, black played knight bd7. That is one of many possibilities. White continued with e3 and bishop e7. White continued with knight f3 and black decided to castle on the short side. And now, very instructive moment, White decided to delay a bit activation of his kingside bishop. So you already know if White plays bishop e2 or bishop d3 in any moment, black can take on c4 exactly in that moment. So after White takes back, White bishop will do move bishop c4 in two moves actually. So this way White will lose a tempo, and that's why black usually waits in that opening for activation of bishop f1, and then black takes on c4. So in that position, White played rook c1, normal developing move, and after c6, queen c2 was played, and black continued with a6. What can be the idea of move a6? Idea is after d takes c4 to gain space on the queen side with b5, and after bishop b7 to finish development and prepare finally c5. And after a6, White gets the right moment to take on d5. Now black is on some crossroad. There makes sense maybe to take with c. Also there are some reasons to take with e-pawn. There is also a reason to take with knight, and actually that is a matter of style. Black decided in that position to take with e-pawn. Idea can be to develop bishop c8 on that long diagonal, maybe g4, maybe f5, we'll see. Bishop d3, normal move, rook e8, castling, and knight f8. And now first instruction moment in our position. In that position, White has three solid plans. First solid plan is related to queenside play using minority attack. So maybe b4 to prepare. So b4, a4, and b5 crashing black structure on the queen side. Another plan is to play on the king side. That plan will maybe implemented with moves knight e5, f4, and so on. But Rubinstein always chose plan connected with playing in the center, and his next move prepares e4 in some good moment. So rook f e1. Black reacts with bishop g4 and knight d2. This knight does not also supports advance of e4, but also may be transferred to a5 or c5 y square b3. Well, knight d7 was played, another instruction moment. White is offered to exchange the bishops, and strictly formally looking on pawn structure with fixed pawns on dark squares d4, e3, and f2, it would be natural for White to exchange dark square bishops, but Rubinstein always was well known, of course, as so deep strategical player, and he felt his bishop on f4 will be more influential than the opponent's bishop on e7. Well, that bishop controls so many important squares, preventing bishop d6, queen c7, rook b8 maybe in some moment. So that bishop really dominates on that long diagonal. Black intends to change it, but amazing move h3 prevents black to exchange dark square bishops. And now White will keep his bishop, placing it on h2. Bishop f4 will lose the piece. Now black is forced to play bishop h5, and after that, that bishop will be lost. So black must not take on f4. He must move that bishop back, And now bishop h2, that bishop is kept on the board. Bishop g6, matter of style, to take or not. White decided to take because he believed black knight is more needed on a6 than on g6, and that's why he decided to take, with idea maybe to deflect black knight from e6 spot. Black felt the same and he took with h pawn, and amazing move, queen b3. So this time Rubinstein chooses another plan. Now e4 will not make sense because white does not have light square bishop. Simply, you should not allow to play with isolate pawn on d4 if you don't have light square bishop. White did not go for b4, a4, b5 because there can be problem with c4 square after black plays b5, sorry. So white decided to attack pawn b7 very simply because black cannot easily protect that pawn. There is queen c8, but then, after queen c8, pawn d5 falls. So black practically must play queen b6, and that is very expected by the Rubinstein. He prepared very strong move. Of course, let's black take first, knight a4. Practically forcing black to capture, and now you can see that white cavalry fully controls that important spots. Knight e6, and now amazing move, knight a5. Of course, knight on a5 is more dangerous than knight on c5. Knight on c5 can be exchanged, and knight on a5 does not attack only b7 pawn but also c6 pawn. So black never will be able to advance b pawn because pawn c6 will just fall. How to protect pawn b7? Well, if knight d8, there is bishop c7. So black practically must play rook a7, and now very fine move, king f1. One may say white should double on the c file, but of course that is very prevented right now. Rook c2 falls into knight d4. So king f2, very important move, very fine prophylactic move. King goes closer to the center. You know, king in endgame should belong to the center, and also white eliminates some threats of knight takes d4. Bishop d8, black attacks that annoying knight, and now, of course, white plays amazing move, b4. White does not feel any fear about doubling that pawns. Well, after taking and taking back, dear chess friends, as you can see, pawn b7 will soon fall because white will just double on b file, and it's not visible how black can protect that pawn. White double pawns on a file are actually strong because pawn a5, as you can see, makes pawn b7 fixed and backward. After b4, f5, trying to find some counterplay on opposite side, but that move weakens square e5. And knight b2. Before any action, before any potential pawn action, Rubinstein sets pieces on best places, knight d3, controlling important square e5. King f7, rook c2, preparing doubling, bishop b6, bishop d6. Now that move, bishop d6, is very strong. It is both patient move and strong from also psychological aspect. White progressively improves his position. Bishop is ready to come to c5 in some good moment to force after some capturings to capture back with b pawn and open b file. Also, you know, as I told you, there is psychological aspect. So, you know, it is very unpleasant to play with such opponent piece placed so deeply in your territory. After bishop d6, as you can see, that bishop is very annoying, controlling so many important squares. Knight d8, and now it's time for white strike. He played knight c5. Let's see what may happen. If knight takes, white will take, of course, with the bishop, forcing black to take, and now b takes with devastating attack on b file on pawn b7, which will make rook a7 practically out of play. After knight c5, black decided to take with knight. Yeah, bishop c5 is another option that is even worse, because after b takes, now that bishop is much better than that black knight saved on the board. Once again, white will dominate on b file. So after knight c5, bishop takes, pawn takes, king e7. As fast as possible, king goes to c7, somehow with intending to liberate that rook. But black won't be able to go for this. Simply, let's just look what happened. Rook b2, king d7, doubling on the b file, king c8, king e2, rook e7, and king d3. King f3, sorry. King d3 would change nothing. King f3 was played. I think even king f3 is more precise. So, let's discuss the position. All white pieces are ultimately active. All black pieces are desperately passive. Black has evident problem with rook stuck on a7. So that rook does not affect at all on the center and on the king side. Also, black king and black knight are passive and are a bit out of play. So, what to do if opponent has some piece out of play? Simply transfer battle area on opposite flank. By the way, here we can consider white next plan as principle of two weaknesses. Black has one weakness on b7, and in order to win the game, white must create some other weakness on opposite side. So definitely that's why white played king f3 with idea to prepare g4. Black continued with g6, what else? And before capturing, white plays rook g1, knight f7, and direct play from Rubinstein h4. So direct approach. Black has unpleasant choice. Well, if he plays knight h6, for instance, white can play h takes, f takes, king g2, knight f5, and white will invade via h file with devastating effect. Or let's say if black takes with knight, again rook h1, and now even knight g4 is out of play, as you can see. In all cases, white will open position on the king side, which will be definitely in his favor. gh happened, gf, gf, and white finally invades with rook on 7th rank. Knight d8, rook g8, matter of style. White could even now play rook b1 and rook g1. And after f4, now we see first mistake allowed by Rubinstein. He played rook h8, which is not bad, which will win the game, of course, but here he missed so fine move, which will end game instantly. Well, the point is white could play knight c4. If black takes, rook is lost. With his last move f5 to f4, black left that rook not so well protected, and white could deflect back pawn d5. If black doesn't take, white knight can go to b6, forever excluding that rook a7 out of the play, or can go to d6, targeting rook, king, and again pawn b7. Game would be over, but rook h8 was played. If you ask me how it's possible Rubinstein missed that immediate win, well, I think the point is such masters, so fine strategical players, are always dedicated to strategy and focus to find some maneuver, some strategical approach, you know. Maybe they do not expect such gifts in proper situation. So, rook h8, f takes, f take, king d7, and again, knight c4 would be much better, of course, but there is nothing wrong with rook g2. The point is, after rook e8, white takes the pawn. There is balance. Looks like black achieves something by exchanging pawns on the king side, but he is desperately passive. White, both rooks are on 8th rank. Knight b3, and now finally knight goes to desired spot on e5. The point is, If black moves knight, rook c8 will be the mate. If rook moves d7, knight would be lost, so that's why white wants somehow to deliver attack on that knight. a5, knight c1, rook a8, protecting the knight, but okay, white just follows his idea. And finally with b5, black wants to get rid or somehow to make some love to the king on c7. Of course, here everything wins, but white decided to take, and after taking, knight gets far the best spot, that is spot on c5, attacking the rook, rook d7. Of course, that check will not help. Now knight is desperately pinned and there will be a lost position for black. If king c7, there is nice fork after rook d8, and knight e6 with an imminent win. So black must play rook d6 and now a4. Simply tightening the loop around black king. There is nothing black can achieve here. White just wants to transfer both rooks on 7th rank with threat of rook b7 mate. Let's see what happened. Rook c8, king g4. Yeah, white wants to go toward rook e5. Of course, not king f4 because of some check, and black will surprisingly survive. King g4, avoiding some checks, king gets closer to the rook. Black decided to play king c7, but that's act of desperation. After rook h7, black resigned. Because if black goes back to b6, there is beautiful mate after rook d8, and next move will be knight b7. As you can see, dear chess friends, that game was so instructive. I would pay attention on some important moments. Again, first important moment is moment white decided to keep dark square bishops on the board. Against any dogmatic principles, well, as you can see, it's natural to exchange bishops due to fixed pawns d4, e3, but much better and more direct will be to keep bishop controlling that long diagonal. Yeah. Later, the key moment happened after white excluded opponent rook from the play. After bishop d6, white prepare jump to c5, which after that exchanges led to white enormous pressure on b file. Black was forced practically to play with all army paralyzed and passive, especially without rook poorly placed on a7. And finally, of course, if opponent has some piece stuck on the queen side, you should transfer play on the king side. White transfer his activities on the king side with playing g4, and after that everything will go smoothly. Rubinstein convincingly won that game. So that is, I think, a real masterpiece Rubinstein showed to us in that variation of Decline's Queen's Gambit. I hope, dear chess friends, you learned a lot from that example. I hope you enjoyed that example, and see you soon with new games. Bye bye.